Welcome back. You're watching One on One. We're talking with entrepreneur, philanthropist, and founder of Infosys, Narayana Murthy. I have to ask you about the defining moments in your life. Of course, there was the success of Infosys. What point did you realize you had something so big on your hands?
Well, there have been many defining moments. For example, the first customer, the first big check we received.
Was it a significant amount, the first one?
Not much by today's standards, but $200,000 was a lot of money in the early 80s. The first building that we built on our campus in Electronic City, Bangalore, getting listed in India, getting listed on NASDAQ, buying a company in Australia. So there have been many important moments. But I would say the real defining moment for us was when we sat down in 1981 May at my apartment in Bombay to decide the objectives of Infosys. There was a lot of discussion on what we should be. Somebody said we should become the company with the highest revenue in our field. Somebody else said we should become the company with the highest profit. Somebody else said we should become the company with the highest market capitalization. But finally, we zeroed in on becoming the most respected company in India amongst all companies. Because our logic was that if you want to be most respected, then you have to do everything right by every stakeholder. You can't shortchange your customers. You have to be fair with your employees. You have to follow the finest principles of corporate governance with your investors. You cannot violate the law of the land wherever you operate. You have to live in harmony with the society wherever you operate. And you have to be sympathetic with your vendor partners. And if you did all of that, revenues will come, profits will come, and market capitalization will come. Frankly, that was the best defining moment for Infosys. And we took that decision, and I'm glad to say, even today, after 26 years, we have followed that religiously.
Are you a tough boss?
Oh, yes. I'm very tough, but very fair.
Now, what did you do with your very first big check, so to speak, when it came? Do you remember how you spent that?
Well, at that point in time, we were getting advances for projects because we had very little money. The banks wouldn't give us any loan because there was no collateral. So in that sense, we used it up all for the company's work. Right from day one, we had a few important principles, and that is, we will not blur the distinction between corporate resources and personal resources, one. Second, right from day one, we said we will spend less than what we earn because we wanted to be profitable from day one. Third, we said we will pay dividends from day one and pay taxes and put the after-tax dividend as our equity, because remember, we started with $250. It's such a small money. And then we knew that if we wanted to get listed, then we had to have a certain level of equity. And the way to get to the equity was, one, put back your dividend as your equity, and number two, declare shares, dividend shares. And that's exactly what we did.
Where did you look for resources like intellectual resources? Who are your mentors? Who are the people who guided you?
Well, in some sense, for me, it was a passion. At that point in time, certainly, my parents, my teachers, they were all mentors in a very indirect way, because when I took this decision to form Infosys, there was really nobody that I was consulting. But it was all about passion. It was all about a certain belief, because I realized fairly early that the only way societies can solve the problem of poverty is by entrepreneurship, and by creating wealth legally and ethically, by creating jobs, by creating incentives for people. So that passion was really what drove me to start Infosys.
There are other philanthropists, but you're considered quite a rare man in this respect. What do you think, why is it do you think other people don't follow the example so much when they see how much you achieve with your philanthropy?
Well, on a global level, obviously, there are many people, there's Bill Gates, there's Warren Buffett, there are many, Michael Dell, all these. But I think on the Indian side too, Tatas have been wonderful in philosophy, Birlas have been wonderful in philosophy. There are many, many other groups. Certainly among the new set of entrepreneurs, we have done reasonably well. And after all, people talk about contemporary fellows, contemporary people, and that's, I suppose, why we have got a little bit of visibility. But I must say there are a lot of good philanthropists in India today. There were a lot of them, and there will be many more.
Do you have any fears for India going down the wrong path, becoming too, capitalistic? I mean, you yourself started with leftist leanings. Do you worry about India taking the wrong path and becoming, disconnected from its original spiritual values?
Oh, you are right. In some sense, that is an issue. As long as we are capitalists in mind and socialists at heart, as long as we are all the time worried about the huge divide that exists between the rich and the poor, between the urban and the rural, and do something to reduce this gap in every one of our actions, I believe we'll be doing the right thing. But the day we forget these gaps, these differences, I think that will be a dangerous path.
We've mentioned her a couple of times, but it should be noted that your wife really was very much a leading figure. You were very much partners, not just husband and wife, but she supported you for a long time in your vision.
Absolutely.
And she has been very much a driving force in the philanthropy as well.
Yeah.
So what projects do you, or both of you, plan to undertake? What else would you like to see happen in this respect?
Well, she's the chairperson of Infosys Foundation. And Infosys Foundation addresses the basic needs of the poorest of the poor. We have built, for example, libraries in 15,000 villages in India. We have built homes for destitutes. We have built hospitals. We have rehabilitated prostitutes. We provide lunch for probably 200 to 300,000 children in government schools. We do many of these things. For example, we took part in helping the victims of Katrina in the US. In fact, Infosys was perhaps one of the first few companies that donated to the Fireman's Fund after 9/11 in the US. So, I mean, wherever we operate, we try and make a difference in a small way to the society around.
Now the kids have grown up and you've taken a step back from the real grind of daily work. Are you able to find some time for yourself and for your wife and your family?
Not really, because both my children are right now in the US studying. Second, my wife is very busy with her Infosys Foundation activity. She travels a lot in rural India. That's very tough. And I'm very busy, traveling 25 days a month. On an average, I spend a week a month in the US, a week a month in Europe, a week a month in Asia Pacific, Australia, and a week in India. So,
is there anything you really want to do personally for yourself that has been squeezed out up to now that you'd like to get in there?
I like to read a lot, particularly physics and mathematics. I bought a very good piano, wonderful, the most modern piano, with the desire to learn. But I haven't had time to spend, learning piano. So I suppose
the piano's still there waiting for you.
Yeah, absolutely. But both my children play, so they use it whenever they come to India. So.
And what about legacy? When people talk about you in the years to come, and God wish you a long life, what do you want them to say? How would you like to be remembered?
I'm often asked about it. I tell them I wanted to be remembered as a fair person, because fairness to me is extremely important. Nicety, I don't care. Fairness is very, very important. So I want to be known as a fair person. I want to be known as a team person. I want to be known as somebody who put the interest of the country, interest of the company out of his own personal interest. That's what I would say.
Narayana Murthy, great talking with you, and I look forward to hoping to meet you again soon.
Pleasure. It's always a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, sir.